Hi guys, I'm going to answer some important questions on JavaScript. So it will be helpful someone who learn coding or okay. Uh, the first question is benefit and purpose of closure. So the closure means what if we have a function and the function has a child functions, inner functions. So they the all functions are uh, creating a closure. So if some variables declare on the parent function, the child function can also have access to that, and there will be a closure created by that function. So if we accessing a variable inside the inner function, so the function can directly go to the outer function and get that. So there will be a, creating a closure. We can look the what the ChatGPT answering. Closure in JavaScript is a feature that allow inner function to access the outer scope of the function. So basically it's that the inner function can access the outer scope of the function. It helps binding a function to its outer boundary, and it's created automatically whenever a function is created. It helps to binding a function to its outer boundary and is created automatically whenever a function is created. Closure are useful as they help maintain the state between events in an event-driven JavaScript. So JavaScript basically a event-driven programming language. Everything based on event clicks, request, everything is a event. So what are the benefits of closure? The benefits of closure in JavaScript is first one is data encapsulation and maintaining state. Providing private variable and methods helps in creating factory functions, helps in creating callbacks. These are the five benefits of closure. Closure provides data encapsulation, which means that the variable declaring the outer function are not accessible uh, from the declared in the outer function are not accessed from the outer function. This help preventing naming conflicts and makes the code more modular and scalable. So if we have written a function and the in that it's variables inside that function, they cannot access from the outside. It's encapsulated in that function. That's a feature of closure. But in the when we come to the child, we can access that, but it cannot go outside. So it's encapsulated in that closure. Closure helps to maintain state between events and event-driven Java. This means the state of a variable is preserved even after the function has returned. And closure provides private variables methods which are not accessible from the outside function. This helps preventing naming conflicts and makes the code more modular and scalable. So that's are the some benefits of closure. So we can move to the next question. First class functions. Basically, first class functions means if a function have some uh, in JavaScript we can give functions as an argument, and return we can return functions like that. We can give us an argument and return. It's a feature of JavaScript. So that's why we call in JavaScript the functions are first class in JavaScript. So there is no first class function, but we always call that functions are first class in JavaScript. And third question, pure function. A pure function is a function that always returns the same output for the same input and has no side effects. In other words, it does modify any of it does not modify any of its arguments or any global variables. and it does not perform any input or output operations. The result of calling a pure function is the return result of calling of a pure function is the return value. Okay, there is an example. A function called add accepts two arguments a and b, and it's return a plus b. Whenever we invoke this function add with two values, the function always return the same a plus b. If we pass 10 plus 10 and 10, it will be return 20, 20 and 20, it will be 40. So there is no changes made in the variables a and b. So it's a pure function. And some benefits of pure function is predictability, reusability, and parallelism, and catchability and testability. And the next question is deep cloning. Okay, we can ask in the GPT. Okay, deep cloning in JavaScript is a technique that used to duplicate everything whenever we are cloning an array and object in JavaScript in order to avoid data loss. There are three methods to do deep clone in JavaScript using spread operator, using object.assign method, and using json.parse and json.stringify. These two methods we can use for deep clone. Okay, that means we can duplicate the thing, the original object or array. We can duplicate that, and it doesn't affect the original array. It only affects the duplicate array. That's called a deep cloning. For example, here is a code provided. This obj1 object has one key value pair, two key value pair, and nested object. Inside that object, there is a another key value pair. So whenever uh, when we create obj1 assign obj2, it will be the same pointing to the same address. But when we do with the spread operator, it will be cloning the obj1. So we can maybe we can check it out on the code editor. Okay, there was a problem with that previous answer. Yeah. Okay. The thing is, when you do the deep copy with the spread operator, there is a chance with the nested object won't be changed in that. The nested object still be referring to the same memory address. So using spread operator will be cause some errors. So you can use this method to deep copy that json.parse method, and inside that person pass argument as a json.stringify inside that invocation called the object you want to make deep copy. So we can run this code. Here is it is the obj2 not changing. We can still get the same copy of obj1 inside the obj2. So there is no changing happens. the shallow cloning is like when we change the when we copy the object to some another object. When we change any value inside that object, it also changes the copied the original object or what we are copying. It's only passed by the reference or memory address. For example, if this obj1, I just copying obj1 to obj2. So when I change obj2 dot a, it will also change the obj1. Obj, we can log obj1. See the value of a now became 10. So it is called shallow copy. It's only referring memory address. So it will change the uh, original object. Uh, the next question is, what is event propagation? Capturing bubbling. Event propagation means the order which level. Event propagation refers to order in which level events are handled in DOM. When an event occurs, there are two phases of event propagation: capturing phase and bubbling phase. So there are two propagation phases in the event propagation: capturing and bubbling. Capturing phase, in this phase, the event captured from the root of the DOM hierarchy down to the target element. It happens before the actual target element receives the event. Event listeners attached during the capturing phase will triggered in order to the route to the target element. Target phase. This is the phase which the event has reached to the target element. Event listeners attached to the target element will be triggered. Bubbling phase. After the target phase, the bubble ups from the target from the back to the root of the DOM hierarchy. Event listeners are attached during the bubbling phase. Will be triggered in order from the target element back up to the root. So, I can show you one picture of the event propagation. So, these are the three phases: event capturing, phase 1, event target, phase 2, event bubbling, phase 3. When a event happens, button clicks happens, the document, the event capturing phase will come from document to HTML to body to div to button, and the button click, the event happened. After that, it's a bubbling phase. Button will click on, we will click on the button after we clicking on the div, the body, the HTML. This go to the document. Here is how the event propagation happening, event capturing happening. There are three phases: capturing and target and bubbling phase. So the next question is difference between promise and observable. Uh, promises and observables are both used for handling asynchronous operation in JavaScript, but they have some key difference. Here is the main distinction between promise and observables. This results from ChatGPT. Promises are mainly used for a asynchronous function. If we are fetching a data from outside or database or somewhere, and the promise will receive two arguments: resolve and reject. So if we give a uh, job to fetch data, if we get that data, we can resolve as the data, or else we can reject, and we can do with that promise. So there is a guaranteed output. If something wrong gone there, we will get the reject, and if it's worked, we will get resolved. So there are three states: pending, fulfilled, and reject. The first state is pending, and if the data we got, the function is worked, we will get fulfilled, and if it's no it didn't work, it's rejected. That's a promise. And promise and observable are both used for handling asynchronous operation JavaScript, but they have some key differences. single versus multiple values. The first difference is that, you can check what is that. Promise represents a single value that might be available now or in the future or never. Okay, promise will represent a single value that comes in future. A single value will become from future. And observable represents a stream of values over time. It emit multiple values asynchronously. So promise really returns a single value, but observable represents a stream of values over time. So it will be returned multiple values asynchronously. That is the difference between observable. And another is eager versus lazy execution. Promise executes immediately upon creation. The asynchronous function starts as soon as the promise is created. Observable executes only when subscribed to its lazy nature, and asynchronous operation starts only when there is a subscriber. Okay, promise will start as soon as the promise created, but observable is not like that. It will be only execute when subscribed. Okay, it executes only when it's subscribed. There is a difference between that and cancellation. Another point is cancellation. Promise cannot be cancelled once a promise is in progress. It will execute to completion, and there is no built-in mechanism for cancellation. Okay, promise won't be cancelled. That's the point. Observable support cancellation. You can unsubscribe from an observable which stops further emission and release resource. Okay, observable we can cancel that, but promise once we created, it will be uh, returns some value in future. Multiple observers. The next point is that promise represents single value and cannot be shared among multiple consumers. Multiple observers. Promise represents a single value cannot be shared among multiple consumers. Observable can be multicast, meaning multiple subscribers can listen to the same observable and receive the same difference different value concurrently. So multiple value can get from the observable. Declaration versus imperative. Promise primarily declarative. You define what should happen when the promise is resolved or rejected using then and catch methods. Observable more declarative and composable. You can use various operations to transform, filter, and combine observable to create complex asynchronous workflows. The next point is operators. Promise has limited to built-in methods, then catch finally for handling asynchronous operation. Observable provides a rich set of operations like map, filter, merge, concat. So observable has lots of operators for transforming, combining streams of values. And promise represents a single value resolved at some point in time. Observable represents a sequence of value over time, allowing more expressive handling of time depend on the operation. Promises are suitable for handling a single asynchronous operation, while observables are more powerful and flexible for handling streams of asynchronous events over time, especially in scenarios like real-time application and event-driven architecture, choosing between them and on specific requirements of application. Okay, we can go to the next point. Next question. When we should not use arrow functions. Arrow function basically means a function that doesn't need a function keyword to write a function keyword. We can just write a parenthesis and write some equal sign and a greater than sign, and a bracket. So you when we have ls code or a one line code to run in a function, we can use arrow function because we don't have to use the function name or the return name or everything. We can just complete that in one line. That's one use of arrow function. Now we can ask ChatGPT for where we should not use arrow function. Arrow function is a JavaScript have some characteristic, characteristics that makes them well suited for certain scenarios, but there are situations where you might want to avoid using arrow function. Here are a few cases where it's advisable to not use arrow function. Arrow function do not bind their own this context but inherit it from the surrounding code. This behavior is not suitable for the object methods where you might want to access the object as a this. Okay, example, we can check the example obj. There is an object called obj and have a key and value example, and inside that the print name arrow function key has an arrow function as its value. This not name, this not bounded to obj. Okay, we cannot use the this in the arrow function. Okay, the this not name will be not printed. That's what called object method. We cannot use in the object methods. This will be not printed in the console. Callback functions with dynamic context. When we using callback function that relies on dynamic context, example event handler, timers, arrow functions may not suitable for this because they don't have their own this example. This okay. We cannot use arrow function as a event handler. Constructor functions. Arrow functions cannot be used as a constructor functions. They do not have their own this context. So basically, the this is not available on the arrow function. So we have to avoid that. Every point is pointing that there is no this available in the arrow function. Okay, we can go to the next question. Use strict. Basically, use strict means we mention the web page, the JavaScript that a mode that use strict. Just write in. When we use strict, we cannot assign a variable like this is the difference when we use strict. When we use strict, we cannot assign, we cannot use a variable like this. We cannot assign something that doesn't declare, or we cannot use that variable. That is the one point of use strict, and we can find some another point of use strict. Use strict is a programming. Use strict is a pragma in JavaScript that was introduced in ECMAScript 5 to enable stricter set of pricing and error handling. When you use usestrict at the beginning of a script or a function, it helps to catch common coding errors, prevent of use of certain error-prone features. Okay, the use strict at when we use the use strict keyword in the top of the JavaScript, it prevents some coding errors and prevents certain errors, error prone features. Variable declaration that we talked later, talked before, and the assignment immutable global object, assignment to immutable global object, and octal literal syntax, deleting variable functions and function arguments, reserved words. So we can check the what in strict mode. You must declare a variable with var, let, or const before using them. That's what we saw. We have to declare with var or let or const. In strict mode, assignment to read only global object undefined and result in error. So we cannot use undefined or nan or infinity. This will be result in error. So code will be more errorless in the strict mode. So uh, we have to arrange it correctly. In strict mode, octaliterals are not allowed. Octaliterals means treated as a octal 83 in decimal. Octaliters are not allowed. Maybe so we cannot use leading zero with numbers with leading zero. That's blocked by use strict. And also deleting variable functions or function arguments are not allowed in use strict. This is not latex. We cannot delete the function or variables. That's you cannot do in the strict mode. Okay, we can go to the next version when we use for loop and while loop. Okay, for loop means there is an initialization and expression and updation, and while loop there is only expression, but there is no updation or initialization. If we have some program that doesn't initialize or something, we can do that. We can check it what the ChatGPT gets. Okay, the main point is if you know the number of iteration in advance and have a clear initialization condition and iteration logic, a for loop might be suitable. If the number of iteration is known initially and the loop should be continued based on the condition, while loop might be more appropriate. Means if you know the how you want to run, how long it's want to run, and if you have a clear idea about that, you can use for loop. Otherwise, if you have to check some condition or some works inside the while loop and make how long it should work, it would be better to use while loop. The next question is object prototype. Okay, object prototype. In JavaScript, every object is linked to a prototype object from which it inherits its properties. So basically, every object is linked to the property of prototype object. We that inherits properties from properties that's inherits properties. Object inherits properties and methods from their prototype, forming a chain referred as a prototype chain. These inherited properties are called prototype chains. Understanding the concept of prototype is fundamental in JavaScript nature. Object prototype. Every object in JavaScript has prototype except the for the base object, which is the end of the prototype chain. The prototype is essentially an object from which current object inherits properties. You can access an object prototype using object.getPrototype of obj. Okay, we can check it there. Constructor function. Next point is constructor function. Object in JavaScript are often created using constructor function. When you create an object using constructor function with a new keyword, the object inherits from the constructor function prototype. You can check the code. There is a function called person. The person accepts an argument name. In this node name assigns name. The name assigned to the this node name. Okay. Const person, new person, creating an object to the person and passing argument as John. Object dot get prototype of person. Person one. It will be person. Prototype chain. Object inherits properties not only from their immediate prototype but also from the entire prototype chain. If a property is not found on object itself, the JavaScript look up the prototype chain until it finds the property or reaches the end. So object inherit properties not only from the immediate prototype but also from the entire prototype chain. And next point is prototype modification. You can add properties and methods to an object's prototype, and all objects created from that prototype will inherit those properties. We can create a prototype like this. A person function as accessing the prototype and making a say hello as a function. And person dot one say hello output will okay. We can create uh, like this prototype like this. Okay, we can go to the next. So basically prototype is like every object is linked to the prototype object. Prototype is an object and every object in JavaScript is linked to the prototype which it inherits properties. Every object is linked to a prototype object from which it inherits properties. The objects are inheriting properties from the prototype. Okay, next array and set. What is array and set in? Array means a values or data we can store in an array, whatever format. There will be an index. Say we can store different types of data, everything. Okay, array and set in JavaScript. In JavaScript, both array and set are data structure that allows to store multiple values. However, they have some key differences in terms of their properties and use cases. Array as an ordered collection. An array is an ordered collection, meaning the order of elements significant. Each element has a numeric index. So array has an index 0, 1, 2, 3, array starting from 0, 1, 2, 3. In this array, the apple has 0 and this has 1 and this 2 and 3. And array can have duplicate values. Array can contain duplicate values. Each element in array can have the same values as another. So there is no problem with duplicate values. And methods and properties. Array have various built-in methods. Okay, array have methods like push, pop, shift, unshift, and length, etc. that make it easy to manipulate, iterate over the elements. So we can add something with push and delete some elements with pop and shift, unshift, and length. We can use these methods. Array are commonly used when you need to maintain the order of elements and you may have duplicate values. If you have some duplicate values to store, you may choose to use array, and you want an order 0, 1, 2, 3 index values. You have to choose array. And sets means an unordered collection. Sets are unordered collections, and the order of elements is not guaranteed. There is no index. So array, there is no index like 0, 1, 2, 3, and unique values. Set cannot contain duplicate values. If you are trying to add something, it will be stored once. Okay, you cannot store duplicate values. Methods and properties. Sets have methods like add and delete. Okay, sets have methods and properties like add, delete, has, and properties like size. They provide methods for basic set operations like union, intersection, and difference. Usages. Sets are useful when you need a collection of unique values and the order of the element is not important. Okay, we can use set like this. The order is not important and the value must be unique. So this is how set works. You have to create a set new keyword to initialize set, and you have to pass an array as an argument, and if you give multiple values they will be stored with only unique values. Choosing between array and set. Use an array when the order of elements matter and you may have duplicate values. So if you have duplicate values and you have should keep the order, you should use the array and not the set. You said when you need a collection of unique values. If you unique is important, use that. Okay, that's the main reasons. Main thing, hoisting. Hoisting means the declaration of a variables going up to the top, making to it to the top. Declaration making it top to the JavaScript. It's a JavaScript nature. That's hoisting. How hoisting difference with the hoist let and var function? We can check that. Okay, the difference in hoisting with let and var functions. Hoisting is a behavior in JavaScript where the variable and functions declaration are moved to the top of their containing scope during the compilation compilation phase. This allows you to use the variable and function before they are declared in your code. However, there are difference in hoisting behavior in let and var and function declaration. So there are some difference in var and let. Basically, it means it's going the declaration the top of the uh, move to the declaration is moving to the top of the containing scope during compilation. So uh, in this example, there is a console log x and var assign x assign 5 console log x. The first console log will output as undefined, and the second log will be resulted in 5. In the above example, with the variable x hoisted at the top, it's containing scope, but there are no only declaration is hoisted, not the initialization. So when we are trying to x before its declaration, it's undefined. The only declaration will be hoisted on the top, but there will be no initialization will be not going to the up. So that's why we are getting the undefined. Okay, it's a var declaration. We can check the let declaration. Unlike var, variable declared with let are also hoisted, but they have not initialized until the actual declaration statement is encountered. Trying to use let variable before its declaration result in error. So we can only hoist the var, but we cannot do the let. Let will be a reference error. Will be get not defined error, and var will not get that error. Function declaration. Function declaration are hoisted along with their entire body. You can call function declaration declared using the function keyword. before its actual declaration in the code. Function declaration are hoisted along with their entire body. You can call a function declared using function keyword before it actually declaring your code. So functions are we can declare invoke the function in the top, and we can call it in the we can define it in somewhere else in the down. So there is no problem with that. Okay, the next question is class, constructor, method, and properties in JavaScript. So in JavaScript, when working with class, constructor, methods, there are so many concepts. In class, class is like a blueprint, creating object. Okay, it defines the structure of and behavior of an object that will be created based on it. Class declaration start with class keyword. So this is how we declare a class, and we can write the definition inside that class. So we can make many of objects with that class. And the constructor is a special method inside a class that is called when an object is instantiated from the class. It's used to initialize object properties and set up object's initial states. The constructor method is used to define the constructor keyword. So if someone if you guys know the object oriented programming, the class and constructor is same, but in the JavaScript the constructor doesn't have the same as the class name or something. The constructor have a constructor keyword, and it will be invoked when the object initiated with the new keyword. So if you want to initialize some properties or something, some variables, whenever the object is created, instantiated, you can perform something like that with the constructor. And properties properties are a variable that stores data related to an object. In the context of class properties are often defined with a constructor and are accessed using this keyword. Okay, okay. When we define something in the constructor, that is the property of that class, and we can access this with the this keyword. That is the properties of a object class. Methods are functions that are associated with an object that can perform actions and provide information about the object. Method can be added to a class by defining them with the class block. So there's a class and there's a constructor, and also have a method that logs hello, my name is this dot name, and there is this dot name assigning a name that constructor gets. When we invoke the constructor, we passing the John and 30, and when we print the person dot say hello method, there will be a my name is John will be printed. So that's how class methods are worked. The method will be attached to the class. So next question is destructuring. Destructuring is like we can, if there is an array or there is an object, we can separate the values, the variables into the separate variables and arrays or object like that. We can do that. That's how destructuring work. We can get some sample from ChatGPT. We can check it. Okay, we got a definition from GPT. Destructuring in Java is a conceived way to extract values from array and object and design them to variable. In the context of array, destructuring allows you to unpack values from an array and assign them to a variable in a single line. Okay, if we have a array like this, colors red, green have three values, and if we destructure like this, const, we giving the array values like first array, second array. We are declaring some one array of variables and assigning colors to it. So it will be destructure the first red to the first color, and second color is the green, and we can do destructuring like this. That is how destructuring works. Basic array destructuring. Okay, we can also destructure with a skip. We can, without an array method, we can use destructuring to skip some values. So when we declare an array like this, const array, and inside that we giving first num and comma, then there's an again a comma and third num. So it basically do that first num will assign the one, and second num will be no variable, so there will be not assigned. So the third num will assign the third num. Then the rest of that we didn't assign to, so we didn't get that from that array. So we destructured the first and third elements to the variables. There is also something called a rest. The rest syntax is just a three dots that allows to collect remaining elements into array. So if you destructuring an array, okay, the first fruit will get the apple in this array context, and the second argument second variable we giving a three dots, that's a rest operator. So the rest of the fruits, the banana, orange, will be to the array called the rest of the fruits. So it destructure like into a variable and into a array. You can provide default values for variable in case the array doesn't have enough elements. Okay, okay. If I only contains two values, we can do like this. We can assign in the same destructuring array. We can do that. So we can get the values from that array also, and basically there is no need to do that. We can do it separately. So we can also do that, and we can also swap values by destructuring. Okay, we can do like this. Swap using destructuring like this: a comma b assign b comma a. So it will be b will become a and a will become b. We can swap values like using this. Okay, we can go to the next question. Create a new array combining two array with a spread. Create a new array combining two arrays with a spread. Okay, we can try that. We can choose these two arrays. So const we can give pass the array. We can use spread the operator, colors, comma. We can use it's a const. Okay, now we have two array like this. We can join with the rest operator. Here is how you can do that. In this way, we can get this two array merged into the one array. This is a simple method. First, you have to declare a const variable, and you have to assign this two array as an array with a rest operator with a comma. There will be the two will be joined and will be a merged array. So that's the question. So when we destructuring, we have to do like this. When we combining two arrays, we have to give the array as the we have to give the new array's name here and the rest operation in the right side. So that's how we can do that. And rest params, sum of all argument. Okay, the rest parameters in JavaScript allow a function to accept any indefinite indefinite numbers of arguments as an array. The rest parameter syntax is represented by three dots followed by the parameter's name. Rest parameter is gathering the remaining arguments into an array, providing a convenient way to work a variadic functions. Variadic functions. Okay, the rest parameters accept infinite numbers as an argument. Like the rest parameter we will give like this. This is a function called sum, and sum has an argument called numbers. Before that, there's a rest, three dots. It's rest. So when we call the sum, we can give many as arguments uh, with the commas, with anything. It will be get into that numbers. If you give 1 2 3, it will be receive 1 2 3, or 1 2 3 4 5, it will receive 1 2 3 4. So we can give infinite numbers of parameters to the rest parameters. In this example, some functions uses the rest parameters to collect all passed arguments into an array named numbers. So it all goes to the numbers array. It's an array that's receiving. This dot triple dot numbers is a rest parameter. Numbers is an array, receiving array. So we can do some functions with that array. There is an example that returning a number dot reduce as a function. So this is how this works. A single rest parameter. There is some restriction. Rest parameter restriction. Single rest parameter. A function can have at most one rest parameter, and it must be the last parameter in the function. Okay, you can give it as a first. If the function have different parameters, you have to give it at last. Same like we doing with an array destructuring or something. We cannot give it in the first. We can give it the last. So the rest of elements will be stored in that rest. That's how the rest parameter works. No default values. The rest uh, parameter cannot have the default values. So invalid use of default values. You cannot initialize or something. It will be resulting in array like this, error like this. Okay. This parameter regular parameters. Name, age, hobbies. Okay. Receiving name and hobbies as a array. So combining regular parameters with rest parameters. So this is how it's doing. Very simple to understand. The next question is reduce largest element in string. Okay, reduce is a method that will result a single value. There is an example here. Numbers is an array and reduce is a method. It's accept a callback function. There is a total and num arguments. The total will receive the now one by one values from that array, and the num. Okay, there is a difference. There is this total is an accumulator, which the initial state of the total will be 0. That's giving us a second argument in this reduce. So when we perform this reduce method, the total will be 0, and num will receive every numbers, each numbers, and total will assign as a total plus num. doing total as num plus num, so it will be count it will be some every numbers. So that's how reduce works. So that's reduce works, and the filter is all, like the same as reduce, but it will not returning a single value. Filter will return an array when the return of that filter method true or false. If that is true, we we put a condition in the return, like if the number greater than 5 or 10, then it will, when it will true, the array number will be greater than true, the new array will be contain that value greater than 5. The meaning is the filter will return a true or false, and when it's true, it will store that current number into that new array. When it's false, it will not store, it will ingrown and only works when it's true. So filter is returning true. Optional chaining. What is optional chaining in JavaScript? You can check it in ChatGPT. Okay, the optional chaining is a feature introduced in ECMAScript that provides a consistent way to handle optional properties and methods in chain and connected object without explicitly checking the extensions of each property method. So uh, when we uh, when we check inside an object, this is a object called a person, and this have key value properties name Alice and address as a nested object, and there as a city and value key value postal have some properties like this. So when the with the, we will when we access the uh, without optional chaining the method like this postal code assign postal code dot address and person dot address postal code. So when we check like this, it will be if there is no postal code, it will be throw an error, and this code is also very difficult to uh, uh, it's very long to understand or difficult to understand. But the with the optional chaining, if there is no postal code, that won't be a throw an error, just throw an undefined, and the code will be much less. The optional chaining uses the question mark and the dot operator. So this operator allows to access without explicitly checking each level. It will won't check the each level, it only check the property. And if instead of throwing error, they will be give an undefined or something will be returned. That's how the optional chaining works.